Community conversations. Mhm. Nobody wants me singing. Good evening. It is March 8th, 7:01 p.m. on the East Coast. It is Tuesday, which can only mean one thing. It is the second night of Bachelor. It's a special. We're excited about that. If you're just joining us, which you probably are, welcome to Community Conversations with Ethan. I'm Ethan. Please say hi. Let us know you're here, where you're from. I feel like should we do favorite salad dressings part 2? That was really popular. But alas, okay. Favorite thing to order at an Italian restaurant. Favorite thing to order at an Italian restaurant, because we were talking to a Skyla who's backstage with us and helping run show, doing some amazing things on social. With the OCDF, we're lucky to have her join the amazing team. Wine, I love you, Deirdre. I don't know why, for some reason on my computer, the comments are getting. There we go. Okay, fixed it. Sorry. Hi, Leanne. Eggplant parm from my mother. Hi, Mom. Good to see you. I'm out of town, in case you were wondering. I like eggplant parm too. Yeah, chicken parm is bomb for real. Hey, Carol. Hey, Dave. Good to see you. And Grace is here. All my favorite people. If you're just joining us, we'll get started in another 30 to 45 seconds. It's the Beth Carducci. Yeah, chicken marsala. I like chicken marsala. It's never been a go-to like order off the top of the bat, unless the waiter hard sells it. Like we have a world famous chicken marsala. But even then, when waiters typically say it's world famous, like, do you guys ever wonder, like, who decided it was world famous? Like, do they have an award or a certificate from the world saying this is famous? Did they win something? There's a lot of world famous dishes at a lot of restaurants, and I really want to know, why is it world famous? Grace, favorite thing to order is grilled cheese without the cheese and leave the bread out. I actually went on a date one time many years ago, and they ordered a Caesar salad, but then they changed every aspect of the Caesar salad, at which point I'm like, you could have ordered any salad or just built your own. But I totally relate to that. The dish with the most garlic. Alexandra in the house. I'm with that. I'm a huge garlic fan. All right, with that, see, we get started on these great conversations. Maybe we should do an OCD and Italian food town hall. I'll throw it out there. Nikki Bradley in Dublin. Hope you're well. All right, so let's get rolling tonight, and then we'll jump in. So if you're just joining us, while I go over the usual opening, please say hi. Tell us where you're from and your favorite thing to order at an Italian restaurant. Favorite thing to order at an Italian restaurant. I will always hug Katie for you, Alexandra, for sure. So my name is Ethan Smith. I'm a national advocate for the International OCD Foundation, which simply means I have OCD and I won't stop talking about it, at least until everyone everywhere can access affordable, effective, and accessible treatment. And it doesn't take years or even months. You can go to the doctor and go, hey, Fran Harrington, pizza. I think that works. I think pizza is a valid answer for that. Quickly, this community conversation is intended to serve as educational content and is not intended to replace therapy. For treatment-related questions, please be sure to work with your local provider or contact a local clinician. The National OCD Foundation is not a crisis hotline. Is not a crisis hotline and should not be used if you're in distress or feel unsafe. If you're in a crisis or ever feeling suicidal or unsafe, please go to your local emergency room, call 911 or the suicide prevention hotline at 800-273-8255. We also always want to be kind and respectful of others here, create as safe a space as possible. This is a public forum. Words are fun tonight. This is going to be a long live stream. This is a public forum and is being recorded on all the social media platforms and interweb, so keep that in mind. But as always, we support one another here. And so always feel free to be vulnerable and speak your truth, and everybody will hopefully support you in the same. And if not, we boot them. Don't get booted. It's not a good look. With all of that, how is everyone doing tonight? I'm excited. I missed you all. 2 weeks seems like too long. If you're wondering, for the different location, I'm currently on Katie has spring break, so we're visiting with her family in Hilton Head, South Carolina. I am working all week, but we're having a great time with her family, and we're on the beach. Hence the wavy hair and the large amount of freckles, which is cool. Anna is here. Anna Lennis, dear friend, really varies, but tonight I'll be ordering spaghetti and meatballs. Interesting. I met Anna at an Italian restaurant, so that's a perfect question for Anna tonight. How's everyone doing? Let's take a breath. Maybe let's start with a breath. Is it in through the nose? Hold and out through the mouth. Should probably explain what I wanted to do before. I was in the middle of Sean Shinnick, Draw Your Monster. Let's put a link to Draw Your Monster. Extremely talented artist, advocate, and one of my dearest friends in life and in the OCD advocacy community. I look up to him, not only because he's 6'4", but he's an awesome advocate. Hi, Sean. Good to see you. So first of all, as always, how is your week going? How have you been? I love your beach head. Yeah, it is. It's super humid and it's just kind of wavy. I'm sitting at a chair and I appreciate that, Deirdre. I do. How's everyone doing? How are we feeling? There's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot of hard stuff going on in the world. So first questions to everyone, which is how are you feeling? How are you doing? General question, OCD, anxiety. How's everyone hanging in? And how are we feeling? Are you salty though? I'm not salty tonight. I can be salty, but not tonight. Thanks, Betsy. I appreciate it. Love Lana in the house. Hey, Lana. Good to see you. So I know, well, I can speak for myself. I know that the last, 10, 11, or thank you for posting the link to Draw Your Monster. You're awesome. Eric B hanging in there trying a new medication, which is interesting. Yeah, Eric, I relate. I mean, I think most of us have tried multiple medications, and it's always tricky to switch and go through that process of titrating up and getting used to it and how it makes you feel and seeing if it works. So major kudos to you, man. I really hope you find what you're looking for with your new medication and it gives you the results that you're looking for. But I always think it's a brave, move to try and change the game. And the more tools we can add to our tool belt, the better. The better. Deirdre had a great ERP. I'd love to hear about your ERP. I love hearing that. That's awesome. Alexandra OCD is loud but determined. Is loud, but I'm determined to get on top of it. I hear that, and I think that's okay. I think OCD is allowed to shout and scream every now and again. I know it does for me, and and at first when I heard it, especially after I'd been quiet a while, I immediately go to beat myself up. Oh my God, what did I do wrong? What did I do differently? Why is this happening now? Why is everything changed? Am I getting sicker? Am I like all the big thoughts, right? When in reality, sort of that loud OCD is just part of OCD's MO. It's part of the behavior, obsessive compulsive disorder, and really, it's a cue for me. In those first moments, it does take me by surprise, and it does give me a twinge of anxiety and discomfort. But I always try to look at it as an opportunity to, okay, wait, this just means that I kind of need to whip out the harder tools and maybe work a little harder today or the next few days to keep doing what I know to do, following values, not engaging in compulsions. And when it gets louder, by no means am I perfect at that, but I try to use that as an opportunity to get louder back with what I know puts OCD back in its place. But thank you, Alexandra. And I love that you've been making plans and going out. Hey, 1John44. Hope you're doing well. Betsy wrote, doing well, continuing to face the fear most of the time. Hey, listen, most of the time is a huge win. We don't look for perfect here. Kim Quinlan always like trying to be a B minus. And I always say more times and more good days than bad. You can break that up into any unit you want. More hours than bad, more good hours than bad, more good seconds than bad, more good months than bad. I will take most of the time, anytime. So I love that. Grace wrote, feeling excited because I'm a month and a half away from graduating from the fire academy. That's awesome. I never thought in a million years that I would be passionate about a career and excited to live life. Mental health struggles suck, but therapy and medication has helped me get to where I am today, and I am forever thankful for my support system. What a beautiful comment, Grace, and what a testament to treatment and therapy and gumption and strength and courage, which we all here have, and commitment to the unknown and commitment to uncertainty. Because when you really hand over the keys, that full life is waiting for you. And to our Betsy's most of the time point, it doesn't always feel good, but there's a gorgeous life ahead. And I think that's awesome to have those days. So revel in it, Grace, and enjoy that moment of how you're feeling. That's awesome. Beth wrote, don't feed the monster. It gives power. Let it starve. Absolutely. I'm all for letting it starve. Katie wrote, hi from downstairs. Katie is downstairs, in case you were wondering. I should have read it out. Last time I made the same joke. She didn't read it. She didn't read it. She skipped it. So somebody took the high road here, Katie. Wasn't you. No, it wasn't. Now I'm being salty, Alexandra. Yay for ERP. Absolutely. And finally, Toy. I hope I'm getting that right, Toy. New here, I had OCD under control, but snuck back up on me this week. Yeah, we were just talking about, hey, Alex from Maryland. We were just talking about how, it can get loud and at random times when we're least expecting it. And, I think it's so important to note that, having OCD under control is anytime it gets loud or kind of rears its ugly head, it doesn't mean that you're out of control. It's just the nature of OCD and the nature of its behavior. And it can get loud or sneak back up on you for a variety of reasons. And sometimes it feels good to identify what those reasons are. My therapist always yells at me when I try to figure out the why. She always says the why doesn't matter. In regards to OCD, it's just what you're going to do about it moving forward. We can agree to disagree sometimes. Sometimes I like finding out the why, but regardless, sneaking back up is okay. It's part of its MO, and we hope the times in between when it sneaks up is fewer and fewer between. But that just means that we have to get a little bit more gritty and scrappy with our skills and tools, and say to ourselves, it doesn't mean it's a relapse. It doesn't mean that life is going to go to crap. It simply means that OCD is doing its thing, and we can be like, we can do our thing too. And to everyone's comments, starve it, put it back in its corner, make it shush up again. So you're definitely not alone in that experience. Grace, also, I realized the other day that Elsa from Frozen has taught me very important things in regards to mental health struggles in treatment. I really hope you're going to share that. I see the colon. I would love to know, Grace, your insight into that. Oh, let it go and into the unknown. Okay, you wrote it right below that. Yes. Katie just did an Insta reel with Let It Go. And aside from singing it for the next 17 days, you're absolutely right. It's great. And there's so many great things, so many analogies from Frozen and how it relates to OCD and anxiety and sort of our mission as individuals with anxiety and OCD, as we head out into the unknown and embrace the uncertainty and the importance of letting things go, and the importance of giving ourselves compassion when we can't let it go or struggle to let it go, or it becomes a little bit harder. And that's okay too. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Amy Yatzik in the house down in Miami. Good to see you, Amy. I hope you're well. Michael from the UK, it's no problem. There's no such thing as late. There is early though, but there's no such thing as late. So this is a great question from Amy. Kind of what we were touching on with Toy, which is how do you deal with an OCD spike and possible setbacks? We can go ahead and post that up top, just to thank you. I think some of you will. Well, actually, let's do something different. So before I weigh in, I'm going to toss this out to you, because you all are giving such great insight and information. So Grace, Beth, Katie, Nikki, Toy, Alexandra, what do you suggest? What's a good way to deal with OCD spikes and a possible setback? What do you recommend? And as they weigh in, I will start by elaborating a little bit. I will look at your sentence, Amy. And first of all, I think we should disconnect setback and spike, because a spike doesn't mean a setback. I think, my opinion, which is right all the time. I think that OCD spikes, as we've just talked about, are normal and part of the process. We were really in control of what a spike, how we respond to a spike, and how it impacts our life moving forward. And so, whether that spike becomes a setback or not really is up to us. But to me, a setback, a real setback, right, is this idea of, embracing old and bad habits, maladaptive behaviors, engaging in compulsions over a consistent period of time, to where you start to move backwards, right? You start to lapse or relapse and move back to a place that you once were before. Um, I love that relapse and being caught in a setback is in our control, because we have so little control over so much, but we do have control over our thought. We don't have, sorry, over our focus and behavior. Clearly, I'm not focused, um, and therefore, we may have the thoughts and they may get loud and OCD may scream, but at the end of the day, we can choose how we respond to those thoughts and feelings, and either choose to embrace the uncertainty and live into the unknown, and embrace it, or to start to engage in some old, you know, engage in some old behaviors that may create a setback. Leanne wrote, "I don't really like the word setback too much." I don't either, and I'm not too fond of relapse either, because I think that they're overused. I want to be very clear in saying that I have days, weeks, months, I've talked about it, where, I don't notice I have OCD, and other times it's loud and I do compulse. And, I try to frame, if I've gone a long period of time where I haven't really noticed my OCD, and then it gets real loud and I engage in some compulsions, I really try not to look at that as a setback or a relapse. I look at that as how OCD generally behaves. B, it's happening for some reason: stress, good stress or bad stress. There's a million reasons why. And C, how can I respond to it? Right? Can I give in, or do I really need to up my skills and tools in order to make sure I get a hold of it, a handle on it, and put it back so it doesn't become a legitimate relapse or a legitimate setback. And not to be reassuring, but it does take a lot for our OCD to really get back to a place where it's interfering, if you're already at a place of maintenance or management. Um, you know, you can engage in a compulsion or two. This is not you shouldn't. Just try not to. Have compassion with yourself if you do. But it's important to realize that, a compulsion or two or even three isn't going to put you back to where you were at your worst. Um, just like getting to your rock bottom didn't happen overnight, right? So we have this amazing opportunity when OCD flares up to respond to it in a healthy way, ways that we've hopefully learned through therapy. And if you haven't been through those, we are here to support you through that too, and help give you guidance and suggestions on how to approach. So that's what I would do. I would recognize it for what it is, which is OCD getting loud and being annoying, and then engaging in response prevention, engaging in value-driven decision and actions, and knowing that if you cut off the fire's oxygen pretty quick, that it will go down. And so, Amy, I hope that answered your question. Wow, navigating this on the smaller computers a little bit harder. Okay, Beth Carducci, 7:15. Here's my story. Oh boy, there will be someone coming into my home to test for lead. Okay, I almost said lead. I'm like, test for lead. What is that? If there is lead in my paint, I will have to stay with my brother. I would have to dig up my crabs if they're under the sand. It's dangerous, could potentially kill them. You should never dig up crabs once they dig down. Eep. I've been in my home by myself, not going anywhere for almost 2 years. I don't go anywhere or or let anyone come in. So that's what's going on with me. You know what, Beth, though? I think this is such an amazing opportunity to sort of embrace um, the uncertainty and embrace the discomfort that's going to come with this, because at the end of the day, this is a value driven decision, right? This is health, this is safety, both for you and your pet crabs. And I think that it's an opportunity to get out of your comfort zone. And they're probably as uncomfortable as it will be, and we can expect it to be uncomfortable. And that's the beautiful part. We can expect it. It's okay. Um, it'll be a great opportunity to sort of seize the moment, be uncomfortable, be comfortable being uncomfortable, and know that you're doing something, healthy for yourself and the things and people and animals that you care about in an effort to lead a healthier life. I would also potentially now I don't hope that there's lead in your paint, and ideally I don't want to have to go anywhere for that reason. At the very least, the exposure will be the individual coming to test. Um, but what a great opportunity to sit with and feel the anxiety and potentially use this as a catalyst to continue to take very small baby steps forward, at maybe getting a little further outside of your comfort zone, Beth, um, to um, to maybe go a few more places, um, outside of your home, even if it's just small walks or anything. But thank you for sharing. Beth is such an amazing advocate and contributor to this live stream and always gives us such great information and has amazing insights, and I think we all learn a lot from Beth. Alexander wrote number 6 on Penzel's tips: offer yourself compassion and go right back to ritual prevention. You can always choose to stop compulsing, and a lapse doesn't undo everything you've learned in all your progress. Clearly, Dr. Penzel knows exactly what I think, and obviously wrote my ideas in some of his tips. So I'm glad Fred is on the same page as me. No, it's great insight, and that's beautifully put, Alexander. So thank you for sharing that. Grace, question: the kid I babysat are constantly singing sibling songs, constantly singing songs, sibling. Let me slow down. The kids I sit are constantly singing songs from Encanto, mostly the "We Don't Talk About Bruno" song. I was wondering what you guys think about Bruno, the character, and how he relates to OCD. I haven't seen Encanto. I've known about this character. People have talked about it. I really need to go watch Encanto so I can participate in this conversation. I can't offer advice because I've heard all of the different angles, but I haven't seen it for myself. But if anybody has seen, sorry, I got distracted. My therapist just charged me for today's session. Ah, ouch. Let me just sit with the sting a minute. Okay, it's over. But if anybody can weigh in, please feel free to weigh in. And Grace, let's put a hold on that. I'll make that a priority to watch Encanto, and we can definitely talk about it in a couple weeks. Liz Smith, my mom, wrote a comment, which is rare. Has all the TV coverage about Ukraine increasing anxiety? Should we not watch it? It's so sad, out of control. Yeah, it is, Mom, and that's a great question. I think that much like COVID, um, yeah, there she is. There's my mom. That's Mama Liz. She's been through some stuff. If you've heard my story, a lot of what she's been through, and she's an amazing woman. Well, Liz, Mom, I think that the comparison is when COVID first came out, right? I think all of us have a certain level of tolerance to news and what we expose ourselves to, and I think when it starts to become impactful or invasive of our lives, it starts to change our emotions, our moods. We find ourselves watching it more than we know we should, and start to become significantly distracted. I just got yelled at through a text that I haven't seen in Canto yet. So yeah, Chelsea at the IOCDF just yelled at me. I'm in trouble. Okay, at least I'm honest. I'm real. I'm not going to fake it. I loved you, Chelsea. And so if we remember, when COVID came out, obviously we were all very triggered and very spiked, and we were all watching the news a lot, and we talked a lot about what's healthy, and really we can only decide for ourselves what is a healthy amount of viewing time. A lot of us decided that 15 minutes once a day to get caught up on the latest was more than enough. If you're finding yourself just glued to it all the time, 24/7, you might want to, take a little bit more of a break from it. But really, you can only decide what's healthy for you. I would say, though, if you're more depressed in general because you're watching a lot of it, I want to make it clear. I think sometimes we can feel irresponsible or not feel like we're participating or even allowed to have happy lives with so much suffering going on in the world. And candidly, it's a lot going on all the time in the world. This is an awful situation. But I think we also still have to take care of ourselves and put our oxygen masks on first. I'd be curious if anyone else has some thoughts on that. But Mom, if you're watching the news all the time and you just kind of find yourself drawn to it because you feel like you're going to miss something and you want to know, I would lower it to 15 minutes a day. And as far as news about Ukraine-Russia situation, and then you'll probably feel really uncomfortable about not knowing, or did something happen, or did I miss something, and choosing a time, whether morning or night, and then that's it. And also, because I know you and Dad watch the news a lot, maybe for a week or so, if you guys are both watching too much, choose not to watch the news at night. Don't watch the national news. Don't watch just, or if that's your time to get updated, then set aside that hour, because that whole hour isn't usually dedicated to just the war. But that would be my suggestion. But thanks for weighing in, Mom, and feel free to call if you have additional questions. John wrote, anyone ever tried just exposure therapy, not ERP? Did it help any? I know ERP is king, Lil, but I've heard exposure on its own may help also. Great question, John. So I can only repeat what my therapist friends have told me. Exposure therapy without the response prevention can be really helpful for phobias and things like that. But in general, because there's a compulsion aspect to this, 9 times out of 10, I'm almost positive it's 10 times out of 10, we really need that response prevention component for ERP to be successful. Exposing ourselves to our fears is not enough to habituate, because we are most likely going to engage in compulsions that we've already started doing. So without a plan, and without a treatment plan and a game plan for preventing rituals and your response, it can be not effective to just expose yourself to the things that you're afraid of, because there are specific ways to respond once you expose yourself. So exposure therapy can be very effective for fear of flying, all the common phobias. And there was a book, and I'm blanking on the name of it. Was it Brain Lock? I don't know, but it only talked about exposure and didn't talk about the response prevention part, and sort of that wasn't helpful in that regard. So that's my 2 cents on that. I'm not a therapist, but I talk to a lot of them, and in general, that's been the consensus when that question has come up, or we just come. It's been a long day. It's okay. I say that every 2 weeks, don't I? Just gonna embrace my stutters and my forgetful language and whatever else is happening, because I'm old and on medication, and who knows what else is happening up here. But yeah, John, I think the response prevention is really key to getting OCD under control. But thank you for that question, for sure. Beth wrote, realize that your OCD is going to spike now and again. See it for what it is, and continue to live up to your values. Keep on with your ERPs. Don't lose the ground that you gained. Don't let it take what you have worked so hard for. There she is. There's Beth with the insight. I love that, Beth. I think that I think to that point too, um, OCD can be a dance, and I think it most of the time is a dance, especially if you're in treatment. And I know when I was dancing on a regular basis, it was many times, steps forward and multiple steps back, and steps forward and multiple steps back. And my goal suddenly became, I expected the steps back. I was just hoping that, it would be fewer steps back than forward. And that way I was always making gains, even if it felt like I was losing some along the way. So, my hope was that it was, and I didn't gauge it day by day. I gauged it over the week. So, maybe I had some days where I made progress, and other days where I went backwards. But if I looked at that week and saw that overall I was 2 steps ahead of where I started the week before, then that's a huge win. And I don't think we can ever discount tiny wins. Tiny wins are huge wins. And I think we're really hard on ourselves and what a win looks like. And I think we have to have a lot more self-compassion around wins and victories against OCD, and victories in our own lives about what we're trying to accomplish. OCD is a bitch. I don't curse much in this, but it is. And the reality of it is we tend to be really critical of ourselves and really judgy of ourselves and what we do, and we how we relate to each other and what other people are doing. And so, you know, let's say we like Beth, we struggle to go out, and we look at other normal people and they're going out. So maybe Beth goes out and gets the mail, but she doesn't really see that as a huge win, because everybody goes out and gets the mail. But it is so important not to compare yourself to others, and not compare what you struggle with to what somebody else struggles with. The little victories are really key, and you never want to give yourself fewer pats on the back for those victories, because those little victories, when you add them up, they make a pretty substantial victory, a victory so big that it can completely change your life, because that's really all therapy is, an amalgamation, collection of lots and lots and lots of small victories over a consistent small victories over an amount of time that finally get you to where you are. As I always say, it's a marathon and a sprint. So I think we really have to be really compassionate with ourselves, and really pay attention to the progress that we make, and give ourselves a really big pat on the back for when we make a progress, even if it feels small, even if it feels tiny, even if it feels like it's not hard or shouldn't be hard. Um, to be candid with y'all, I remember when I was in a psychiatric hospital and I was staring out the window. I would just pace when I was in this place. I was there for 3 weeks, and some of you who've heard me talk, I've talked about it at length. It was not fun. Don't recommend it. Um, but I remember looking out the window. It was raining, and there were people going to and from the cars. And I just remember, like, why do I struggle to live life? Like, why is this so hard for me? Um, why is being human and doing things that are normal, like walking or going outside or going, I'll get emotional, going to and from a car. Why is that hard? Um, why is just being so painful? And I really had trouble wrapping my head around this idea of not being able to do what seemed so easy for so many. And then I thought about how, like, God, they sure take it for granted. They don't even, I bet they don't even think about, like, leaving their house or going into a car driving. And it really hit me hard. Um, and at that time, I knew very little about OCD. Didn't have therapy. I found it shortly after, the right kind of therapy. But boy, did I stigmatize myself at that time, thinking about how thinking I was so broken, thinking my brain was so broken, and ever wondering if I would ever get better and ever be, that person. Um, and so we can never minimize our wins, because I remember the first time, I did some of these things that so many take for granted that don't struggle with OCD or anxiety. Um, and, I very quickly went to, well, everybody does this, so it should be easy for me. And my therapist jumped on me at the time, like, no, 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 no. So I'm a big believer in, like, let's celebrate our victories, and we never want to compare them with others. Um, Toy wrote, I know the answer is ERP, but sometimes it's really hard, even though I have been so much better. For sure, Toy. I think this is a great comment at 7:17 p.m. Um, I think the answer, oh, I just lost exactly where I was. No, no, you can keep it up. Thank you, though. Um, I just lost my place, where I was. What time? Can you pop in the private chat what time Toy's question was, so I can refine where I was? I appreciate it. Let me just refine my situation here. 7:17. Thank you, Skyla. Okay, let me just get back to where I was. There we are. You know, I will go out on a limb to say that that maybe the answer isn't always ERP. I think the answer is a lot of things. Um, a lot goes into regaining our lives from OCD and leading a meaningful, positive, value-driven, full life. Um, I say a beautiful life. Beautiful doesn't mean happy all of the time. ERP is a huge part of that. It's the gold standard in treatment. It is definitely the biggest weapon in our arsenal to kind of put OCD in its place. But there's a lot of other things. Whether it's modalities of treatment like acceptance commitment therapy or dialectical behavioral therapy, or it's meditation, or it's exercise, or it's self compassion. I think there's a lot involved to getting better when you're struggling, and I think you have to determine what those things are. And it is really hard. It's really hard for me. Um, what even if I just have a spike for a day or whatever, it is hard. That uncertainty around some of those fears or thoughts that jump in there are intense and uncomfortable. And so I never want anyone to believe that I'm never, when I say, "Oh yeah, engage in your ERP," that I always say that with the utmost humility, because I've been there in terms of knowing how hard it was and struggling to even just engage in it for so many months and years. And I'm still there at times. Um, but I think we have to remember, where we were, what we did, how it does work, and what we want. And as Grayson always says, like, what is OCD taken away from us? And so I don't think anybody's ever saying or trying to say that it's ever easy. It's always hard. But I think the more you do it, the easier it gets. And the more you do it and the more success you see, the more open you are to doing it over and over again. But yeah, sometimes it is really hard, even if you've been better. And just depending on what it is, which is why we have to continue to give ourselves grace, give ourselves compassion, try to be as non judgmental as possible. Take a breath, take a moment. And what does sort of, getting back on board. I don't want to say get back on the horse because I don't want to suggest that you fell off the horse. Maybe the horse just slowed down or is going backwards. Um, but at the end of the day, it's okay that it's really hard. It's good to know that there's proof in the pudding and that it works. But it can look like a lot of things, and it's a process. So my friend has MS. One of my dearest friends has MS, and I like the analogy because, she'll talk to me about how frustrated she is when she's in bed because she can't walk, or she can't feel her feet, or she has double vision. And, she'll talk about how she's done everything right, that there's no reason, for the setback, or why the monster, she calls it her monster, is reared up, that she's done everything right. And always reminds me of OCD and that's why I always try to talk about that's sort of OCD's behavior. That's the MO, right? There may not be a reason why, but it can and it will, and that's okay. And we know what to do, and whether we do it on day 1 or day 10, we just need to do it at some point and get back on. So I appreciate that comment, Toy, and I think everyone here can relate to sometimes it is really hard, and that's okay. I think we can acknowledge that point and then do our best to be like, yeah, it's really hard, but I'm gonna embrace that uncertainty and engage in the things that I know that work for me and get back to where I want to be, or get back to doing the things that I want to do. Michael wrote, people ask me how OCD affects my day. I said I have bad days and very bad days. Has anyone had hypnosis? Well, I guess bad days are better than very bad days, Michael. I actually did have hypnosis before ERP. It didn't work for me. I would never comment on other modalities of treatment in terms of outside of my personal experience, other than, it's not something that we generally point to Toy's point. Exposure response prevention is the gold standard in treatment. And hypnosis may work for some things. In general, it's not something we point to for OCD and related disorders. But Michael, I think I've seen you on the streams before, and if you have questions about accessing treatment or what treatment may look like, I don't know what you've done in the past, but we'd love to, direct you and maybe point you in some other directions that may help. Let's see who we have next. Sorry, navigating with a little bit of a different equipment here. Yeah, Alexander wrote, "Hi, John. I've not heard of anyone trying that. The ritual prevention piece is very important with OCD." That was in response, John, to your exposure only question. Betsy wrote, "I will try this. Stop yourself. Be compassionate with self. Deconstruct what happened, and then face the trigger habit with strong ERP." Betsy, that's awesome. I love that. What a great sort of roadmap for kind of day to day dealing. Sorry for the shaky camera. I've got like 3 pillows on my lap. Not the ideal situation. How am I looking, guys? Is that good? I love this. Stop yourself. Be compassionate. Deconstruct what happened, and then face the trigger habit with strong ERP. You would be amazed. And I said this earlier in this conversation, but you would be amazed how quickly the OCD, backs off when you really, really just, Katie and I always say ERP it, but how you really engage in strong response prevention out of the gate. Don't give it any room to breathe. I'd never had hit and run OCD, or subtype symptom before. And I remember I was on my way back from my therapist's office, and I hit a pothole or something, and I was like, and I had the thought, did I hit someone? And I really wanted to look back in my rearview mirror, and I really wanted to double check. I was kind of like, if I open this can of worms, is this even going to, like, what is this like, what happens when you open a can of worms? There's worms in the can, and lots of them. So I remember in that moment thinking, I'm just gonna, if I hit someone, I hit someone. And that's it. And I just remember, like, 5 seconds later, I completely forgot about it. It was just done. It was out of it. I don't think I thought about it again for a week and be like, oh yeah, hope that guy's okay. It is amazing when you've had when you've been through treatment and you have an opportunity to really shut it down before it even gets started. It's quite remarkable how quiet it gets very, very quickly. Um, Grace wrote, I find that amidst OCD spikes that I experience here and there, one of the more helpful coping skills I've come across is writing a letter to OCD and letting it know how I feel. It can feel good to get my frustration out into the universe, even if it's just on paper. On days where I struggle with feeling like I need to rewrite things, I call someone, support person like best friend, therapist, etc., and yell at them in the phone as if I was on the phone with OCD. I love that, Grace. I mean, that's like, that's like OCD journaling, right? It's so good to get thoughts out, see them on paper. I I love that, and I think there's all kinds of creative ways to approach that. I'll pull up. I've pulled up a chair next to myself, and I've played both roles of, like, okay, Ethan, you're going to talk to your OCD. Okay, now you're going to be OCD talking to Ethan. I've done similar exercises with Katie as well. Sometimes, I've played therapist, and I don't mean I pretended to be a therapist. I mean, like, I'll pull up a chair and then, be a therapist talking to Ethan, and then be Ethan talking to a therapist, and it's amazing the information that when you put yourself in a different context that you tend to come up with in the moment when you sort of take yourself out of yourself and take a more objective point of view. Um, so thank you for that. Um, and Grace followed up with, ERP is tough at times, no doubt. I find that having a good therapist who not only understands OCD, but who also is someone I trust makes tackling ERP a little less scary. And that is true, as do these live streams, and finding community and support, and books and resources and Instagram accounts that really speak to you. All of these things are amazing tools, and while they don't replace therapy necessarily, an Instagram account does not replace therapy. But I mean, community, knowing you're not alone. There's so many great accounts out there on Instagram that just you read every day that give you further inspiration and remind you why you're choosing to do the hard things. So I think that's awesome. Let's see here. And thank you for all these great questions and comments, by the way. See, now I love when you guys, okay, here in the UK we have NHS and therapy is free. I guess in the States you have to pay. That's tough. It is tough. Yeah. Although, Michael, if you're having therapy, I think that's awesome. I know that I have a lot of friends in the UK. I know it can be navigating NHS can't isn't necessarily the easiest. And if you're just starting out, it can be a while before accessing treatment. I would imagine there's pros and cons to both situations. But I'm glad that you have therapy. That's pretty awesome. Bethard, I was wondering the same thing. I wondered if hypnosis could banish OCD and make me forget I have it, or anyone. Interesting. Um, Beth, I don't know anybody that's happened to. I would never tell someone yes or no. Though I'm pretty confident that hypnosis. The thing is, I think we really have to look at OCD and look at treating OCD. I talked to Katie a lot about this, especially when we first became friends. And something. Well, let me relate this to my own story. I think I looked for a silver bullet for a long time because when I was in treatment and therapy regularly, I see a therapist once a week. I always talk about that, but not we don't do ERP or OCD. I don't really talk about that unless there's a reason to talk about it. Just to keep me on track, and just in case I do have an issue that needs to be addressed. But when I was in exposure response prevention weekly, daily, and all of that, I really wanted a silver bullet. I couldn't figure out how to engage ERP. I was too scared to embrace the uncertainty fully. I felt irresponsible, especially around my themes and subtypes, specifically around self-harm and, the possibility that something could happen to me, or I could accidentally die. Um, I wasn't willing to let go of that. It felt really irresponsible and crazy. And so I really wanted a silver bullet approach. Um, and I went through months and months and months of therapy, multiple hours, multiple times a day, um, trying to shift or turn over the keys, or engage in sort of this radical acceptance of ERP and what it meant. And I just struggled with it. And I looked for silver bullets for a long time, or prayed for silver bullets, or hoped for silver bullets. And trust me, I wish there was, um, a silver bullet. I think that you know, the reality is when we let go of that idea, it'd be great if something comes out, if there's a medication, or somebody finds, eating a snail on Tuesdays during a full moon cures OCD. Like, you know, um, I would, I'll be there. I'll be there. Just don't. If they say it on Instagram, don't do that. That guy was crazy. But in all seriousness, the minute I embraced this idea that there was one path forward, there was one path. It was through the fire. It wasn't around it. It wasn't over it. It wasn't under it. It was through it. And and that path for me was a combination of exposure response prevention, combination of acceptance commitment therapy, a combination of learning self-compassion, of meditation, of creating routine, work-life balance, all that stuff. The minute I surrendered to, this is my path, this is the path that I have to take, is the moment I started to see real gains and real results, and really being able to um, embrace the treatment in a meaningful way. That isn't to say I wouldn't pray for a cure or an answer or something, and I'm not suggesting anyone here wants the easy way out. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't want, a one and done um, answer to OCD? You know, I'm simply saying that sometimes we have to acknowledge the tools that are at our disposal. And I think science is working harder than they have. Um, at coming up with answers. I can't tell you the amount of studies that are going on right now, more than any ever before, for OCD, whether it's medication or other modalities, biological treatments. In the meantime, this is what we have, and it does work. It works. I'm living proof. So many Grace is living proof. Any given time on these streams, you can read living proof. And so I would hope that we can surrender ourselves fully to the processes, because I know for me at least, and I don't ever want to speak for anybody else, but I know for me, when I sort of turned over the keys and really embraced this idea that I would never find a silver bullet on my own, that I couldn't figure out a way around it to you know manage OCD on my terms, which is what I wanted to do. The minute I sort of let go of that is the minute I really started to improve. I don't watch anything on the beer bug anymore, but my YouTube channel is still covering Reiki, meditations, EFT tapping, and all kinds of things to avoid getting it. Oh, okay. COVID. Gotcha. Cool. Um, just looking for questions and reading over some comments. Sorry, I usually go a lot faster. Yeah, Kylie, I like how you spell your name, wrote McLean's OCDI was the key in getting me to learn this part of ERP. The OCD Institute at McLean. It's a residential program. Oh, I didn't see your other comment, Kylie. I apologize. Uh, at other times, the RP part of the ERP is to do nothing. It happens frequently with certain mental obsessions and mental compulsions. It's not an easy RP to do or understand at first. Um, so what she's saying is sometimes to sit there with the discomfort and not, especially with mental compulsion. So, mental compulsions can look like ruminating, rewinding, um, trying to play it over and over again, which is ruminating, rewinding, and figure things out. And I think that sometimes to just let the thoughts be there and let them scream and yell and kind of wave at them and acknowledge, hey, I see you. That's nice. Good job. Keep screaming. Do your thing. Great. Wonderful. And then go engage in something meaningful to you, and a value driven behavior is oftentimes a really difficult thing to do because you're engaging in that behavior and your OCD is still screaming. But that's okay. That's okay. One of the hardest things, Kylie, I found was learning that I could engage in value driven behavior um, while feeling like crap. That was really hard for me. That was a hard lesson to learn. I was definitely a product of like, oh, well, I'm only going to do it if I feel good. If I feel like it. That's how I lived a lot of my life. When my OCD wasn't screaming and yelling, I could do certain things, and when it was, I wouldn't do certain things. Um, Understanding that I could have a good day feeling crappy was completely new to me, and it's totally true. Like, I've had so many great days feeling like total shit. Um, but the reality is, feelings don't dictate success. Feelings are oftentimes in relation to OCD, very misleading. I never invalidate someone's feelings, but if we're judging how we're improving or how we're doing based on feelings, it can be a dicey situation. So yeah, something I had to learn for a long time, and it took me a while, was this idea of engaging in actions and engaging in meaningful things, I was gonna say feeling poopy. And then I meant to say feeling crappy, but crappy and poopy are kind of the same thing. So we'll just roll with that. But I love that, Kylie. Thank you for sharing. Um, Leanne wrote, Ethan, I have a strict policy on the news. If I am not prepared to help the situation, then I do not need to watch it. That is absolutely fair. Um, would you recommend taking CBD to lessen triggerings? That's a great question. I candidly don't have a lot of experience with CBD. At the end of the day, I would always have you consult a doctor, whether that's your primary care physician or, if you're with a therapist. Um, um, Therapist. I'm getting lots of texts during this stream today. It's very hard to concentrate, but I appreciate everyone keeping me on their toes. And much love to all of you. Getting lots of jokes. I can dish, but it's so hard to take. Um, so yeah, with CBD, I would definitely consult. Again, I know there's been lots of research studies about lowering anxiety and it being very effective in a myriad of ailments, and we'll always stand by treatment, exposure response prevention, along with potentially medication. If you're seeing a psychiatrist, is always our first lines of defense. But if you have an expert, you could always consult them. But thank you for that. I personally don't have experience with CBD, so I don't. I will only speak from my personal experience. Again, I'm not a clinician. This is all from my own lived experience, or just stealing really good information from other experts and claiming it as my own. Definitely not above that. Um, so yeah, I don't have any personal experience with it, but feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be happy to connect with some folks. But at the end of the day, I would talk to your doctor. Um, Alexandra, Ethan, do you know the giving DBT skill? When I find myself feeling awful about the world, I do something nice for someone else instead of looking at the news. We can't control what's happening in the world, but we can control our behavior and put good into our little worlds. I love that, Alexandra. I love that a lot. I am familiar with the giving DBT skill, and I think that everybody on the stream right now is giving to each other, which is amazing. Um, and it is hard sometimes to quantify things that are happening in the world and try to regain perspective, because it sometimes can feel like, oh, well, what we're doing or what we're able to do is not nearly enough, or feels so small compared to the things that are going on. I was having this conversation with an individual that I work with, for my day job. And I'm fortunate enough to work with some individuals that are um, developing amazing treatments, therapies for individuals with OCD and related disorders. And we were just talking about, all we can do right now is continue to help other people in the way that we know how, and I think that's okay. I think that's okay, and I love that skill, and I love that. I mean, that's why we do what we do. Um, you all hold me accountable. I talk about that all the time too. I'm a broken record. But you all hold me accountable, and in a way, maybe, the news kills me when I watch it, and I'll donate. I don't know what else I can do beyond that, but I'll show up here, and because I know what we can continue to support one another, and I can continue to support the OCD community, and the OCD community can continue to support me, and this is what I was put on this earth to do, and we'll keep doing it together. And I'll do what I can in in the other areas that are happening around the world. But it'd be very easy for me to minimize what we do here, but in reality, it's important. And to an earlier point, we never want to compare misery. We really don't. Ever, ever, ever. We don't ever want to compare misery, pain, you know. Everybody's situation is valid and real to them, and it is not our place. Um, it is not our place or position to judge what that is, and for ourselves, it's not our place to sit there going, "They have it a lot worse. I should disregard my own thing." It's all real and unique to our experience, and so there's nothing wrong with that. Um, let's see here. Grace, I see your question at 7:29. I'm gonna scroll down a little bit, see if there's anybody else that has some immediate question. I like this question. Seating at 7:32, our CBD friend, is it possible to beat OCD for good, or is it a constant struggle? Do you find trying to crawl back to your life? Do you find it trying to crawl back to your life sometimes? We've touched on this here and there. So, um, you know, we talk about the word chronic. It's a word we don't, that gets kind of a bad rap, especially in the wonderful world of OCD. Beating OCD for good is also an interesting term. Um, I will tell you that while there's currently no cure, I would say that, and OCD can be chronic. I would say that maintenance and management is pretty damn good. And so I still have OCD. It still pops up, still creeps up. I have OCD thoughts, some days a lot, some days very little, some days none at all. Same with compulsions. I will take that all day long compared to where I was. And I by no means see it as like see it as a sacrifice, or see it as well, I guess this is good enough. Like, I was bedridden, and I never in my life imagined that I would have the life that I have now, and I also sound like a broken record again. But even before I'd hit rock bottom, there were things that I couldn't do, that I wasn't able to do, that I never thought I would do, um, that I'm doing. And so if this is what, chronic OCD looks like, or maintenance and management, and, with occasional spikes and things like that, awesome. I will take it. As far as I'm concerned, as far as I'm concerned, this is cured, right? And I say that loosely. I'm not claiming I'm cured, but to me, it's as good as being cured, because honestly, I'm here. I'm in this. I'm with you all, and we have an amazing community. And I don't know that I'd want a different life. Quite honestly, I don't know that I'd go back and change a thing. So, quick answers. So the less existential answer is, is it possible to beat OCD for good? Maybe. Um, Most likely, you can live a full, meaningful, beautiful life, whatever that is, with management and maintenance through all kinds of modalities of treatment, to where OCD isn't dictating your functionality and your decision making. So, and that is the majority of your life. Most likely, OCD will crawl back in at some point in your life, or in some hours or days of your life. Really, what we're looking at is, what does that mean, and how much is that going to impact your life? And as we talked about earlier in the stream, that's really up to you. We can notice OCD screaming, and how we respond to it is really the impact that it will have on our life. And so we are very much in control of how we respond and react to OCD when it gets loud. So I am a giant proponent of, beating OCD for good. So far, I haven't figured that quite out, but I would like to say that, my best years are in front of me, and I'm having some pretty good ones in the meantime. And it's okay that it may crawl back into my life. I try not to stigmatize myself or judge myself for that. I just think that's an inherent part of the disease and the disorder. And that's okay. I can acknowledge that and use my skills and tools and move on. No different than any physical illness, like I was talking about MS or diabetes or things like that. I have some friends that are diabetics that live amazing lives. You know, are they cured? No. Do they think about it the majority of the days? No. Does it pop up and give them a hard time every now and again? Absolutely. Would a cure be amazing? For sure. But where we are right now, that's not a possibility. So, Seating, I hope that answers your question. It is 8 p.m. I'm running a little over. So, and thank you for putting 7:33. Skyla posted my keynote from 2014, back when I had brown hair and I was in my 30s. so, so please feel free to watch if you want to hear more about me. I am so sorry if I didn't get to your questions. This is This is such great conversation. I'm just quickly scrolling. Hang tight with me. I'm going to go through obviously some last minute things, and then I'm going to give out my email address. My email address, this email is unique to me. I'm the only one that answers it. So if I didn't get to your questions, please don't hesitate to email me, and I will respond. Just give me a minute. I'm a week behind, but I will always get back to you. So real quick, as always, I want to thank Skyla. Hey now, behind the scenes for keeping the lights on. Fran is also back there doing his thing. But like I said, if you're seeing kind of changes on social media with the IOCDF and posting and cool, Skyla is our new social media guru. She's probably being like, why are you like bragging on me right now? But we're really excited to have her. She's a huge asset to the community and to us. And so lots of cool things in the very near future. Keep an eye out. Okay, so announcements. This live stream is one of many. You can view the entire live stream schedule and submit topics and questions for future live streams at IOCDF/peace of mind right there below. You can also watch live or view recordings on IOCDF's YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn pages. And you can also, as well as iocdf.org/live, which is a great place to see all of the recordings and live streams at your fingertips. Tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern, it's a new research roundtable with Kyle King and Dr. John Abramowitz. Be sure to submit your questions ahead of time at iocdf.org/peace of mind. Already posted that, so we've got more great content for you tomorrow. A couple additional announcements. So excited to announce registration is open for the IOCDF Faith and OCD Conference happening May 9th. The conference is for faith members, faith leaders, and mental health professionals. You can get more information to register at iocdf.org/faith conference. This is the second year for the faith conference. So proud of everyone behind the scenes at the IOCDF, Chelsea, Katie, Jeff, Heather, everyone for making last year's inaugural Faith and Health Conference such a huge success. We're really excited about this one. And so definitely, please register. Also, I didn't even realize registration is open for the National OCD Conference, the live, in-person, finally, in conference, Denver, July 8th through the 10th. All right, listen, y'all need to be there. So what do we need to do to make it happen? Tell me. Last time somebody wanted merch at a discount, we made it happen. So what do you need to get to the conference? And we'll see what we can make happen. But this conference is for those who lived experience of all ages, their family members, supporters, researchers, and therapists who work with OCD. You can get more info and register at iocdf.org/conference. Lots of websites here. Seriously though, it'll be amazing to get back in person. And I love the I love all the conferences, but I love the conference, the live what conference are we going to? The OCD conference. It's my favorite time of year to see everybody's faces, to engage and interact with so many brilliant and brave people. It really is such a great weekend. So I'm so psyched to get back in person in such a beautiful part of the country. So I'm so psyched that that's going on. Finally, remember to like and subscribe to get notified when live streams are scheduled. If we didn't get to your question, or if you have a suggestion for a future topic you'd like to see covered, you can always go to iocdf.org/peace of mind to submit those. And as always, you can visit iocdf.org for anything else that you need. Finally, as I promised, if you want to hit me up, if you have any additional comments, questions, concerns, thoughts, really anything, it's an open forum. Also, your email stays between you and I. No one else sees it. You can visit me at justethan@iocdf.org. There it is. Feel free to hit me up, email me. If I didn't get to questions, really anything that you want to talk about, please don't hesitate to email me. Finally, anything you need from the IOCDF, email info@iocdf.org. Especially if you want resources or you're looking for treatment, or therapy questions, really how you can be involved. Again, you can also visit the website. With that, thank you so much for spending your Tuesday evening with me. It's always an honor and a privilege to be here and see everybody, so many amazing people advocate and share inspiration and wisdom. You're all brave and you're all family to me. So stay safe, stay vigilant, feel the feels. Don't let OCD off the hook. We will see you for another community conversation 2 weeks from tonight. Have a beautiful evening. Good night.